because I want to get a realtor's perspective on a few questions, even though this section is heavily weighted on the mortgage process. So I want to bring in Erin Brown. We're going to dig into Erin's background a little bit more in part 5, but right now I just want to get her perspective and her answer to a couple of questions that I think are best suited for her. So Erin, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, excellent. Erin, again, we're going to cover your background a little bit more in the next 2 sections, but right now I want to jump into these questions, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay. Let's see. This is from Evan in Hartford. Evan says, I've had a real estate agent decline to work with me or show me properties because I didn't have a pre-qualification letter. Is this fair?
Yes, it is fair, Evan. And the reason why it is fair is because an agent needs to understand how much of a house you can afford. And being pre-qualified for that amount is important so that you're actually looking at houses that you can actually afford to purchase.
Okay. And really to cut straight through the chase or straight to the chase scene, time is money. And what we see so often today are folks who are gung-ho about buying a home, but they haven't been able to determine from a lender actually how much they can afford. So what would be the point of driving around endlessly to home after home and you're not able to afford it?
And I'll tell you, there is a line in the contract to purchase that the buyer has to be financially able to purchase. So that's why that letter is important, because other than that, the contract is voided if you have a buyer that's not already financially pre-approved.
Excellent. So glad you threw that in. So we got a contractual obligation to inform the seller accordingly that this person who is a prospective buyer can actually qualify. Whether that happens or not is irrelevant, but they have to at least be in this position of pre-qualified to then pursue the property.
And a buyer would want to know what they can afford, because they're very busy and they don't want to look at houses that they can't afford. It creates an unrealistic perspective. If you only qualify for $150,000 and I'm out here showing you $250,000 house.
Good stuff. Okay. Next question. Any tips for getting through the home buying process stress-free? That's from Clarissa in Teaneck.
I would tell Clarissa to be prepared. I would tell her that it's like a part-time job. You have to make time to look for a house. And I think it becomes very stressful because people aren't making the time to look so that they feel confident that they're making the right decision. As far as being prepared is concerned, you've already spoken, with a loan officer. You've already submitted your tax returns, and you've lined up all your paperwork that's going to be required. You're clear on what you're looking for. So I would say preparation.
Very good. Thank you. Let's see. Next question, Larry from Manassas. What should a buyer expect from their agent during a difficult negotiation?
Most important is going to be communication. That you feel comfortable to talk with your realtor, your agent, about any of your concerns. And during difficult negotiations, you want them to be honest and upfront with you and timely, because negotiations a lot of times are going very fast. Particularly if you're in a multiple bid situation, you want to know that your realtor is getting the information that you need to make the right decision. So timely information, communication, an open, comfortable line of communication is most important.
Critical that all channels are open and the information is being conveyed to the seller's agent and obviously from the buyer and the buyer's agent and even the lending institution. I've had a recent situation where some people were not on the right page with everyone else. Let me tell you a little bit about Ms. Brown. Erin has been a licensed realtor since 1986. She was franchise owner of Remax Llewellyn Realtors for 12 years and currently serves as Director of Agent Development at Remax Achievers in Summit, New Jersey. Ms. Brown has listed and sold millions of dollars of real estate throughout New Jersey, so much that she's actually lost count. Erin served as president of the North Central Jersey Association of Realtors in 2007, currently serves as the chairperson for the Realtors Political Action Committee for her local board and is a federal political coordinator for the National Association of Realtors. Listen, we're going to jump right into this because I've got a number of questions that have come through very quickly. And the first one comes to us from Tina in Passaic. She asks, what happens at a closing? Now, outside of the obvious, I guess we need to kind of walk her through, the paperwork signing deal.
Yeah, what happens at closing, Tina, is that you are actually sitting there for about 30 minutes signing your loan documents. The bank has agreed to loan you X amount of dollars to purchase your home, and now you are basically going to be signing that you agree to the terms of the mortgage commitment. Also at closing, most important, you get a set of keys to the house. So if closing is taking place at 12 o'clock, by 12:30, you have keys to a new home that you can walk right through the front door.
Excellent answer. Okay. Next question comes to us from Devin in Parkersburg, West Virginia. And Devin, you may have to help us here, but it says, how do I know if I'm buying or looking for a home in the right area? Maybe, Erin, this should be, what should he be looking for, to know that he's searching for a home in the right area?
Well, Devin has to know what he is looking for. Sometimes people with children, they're looking for school system. Some people are looking for a town that has walkability to a train station because they commute into a city. So once you've determined what your needs are, and I always tell people, get out the pen and paper, and actually write down your must-haves in a home. You want a school system. You want to be able to walk to the train. You want 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. And then what your price range is going to determine what area that you'll be purchasing in. There are towns that are too expensive for some buyers. So as much as a buyer may want a certain town, it may not have their price range. So those are the things that you have to be clear on what you're looking for and what your needs are in a home and in a location.
All right. Next question is from Kyle in Dedham. I think I said that right, Massachusetts. I found a beautiful home that has everything, but the location isn't great for me. It's a hassle getting to the highway. What should I do? Make an offer or keep looking?
Kyle, this question is very similar to Devin, and I'll answer it in the same way but a little bit different. If you're already saying that the house is a hassle to get on the highway, then I would tell you to keep looking because already there's an objection there that you're not comfortable with. If you're going to grumble each day going to work because it's too much of a hassle to get on the highway, I would say keep looking until you find a house that has a better location. So it sounds to me like location is going to be more important to you than having this perfect house. Maybe you'll take a little less of a house to get a better location. You have to decide.
And of course, as you said, the other factor is, do you have family to consider? Schools, children. And so all of that is going to play into that decision. Okay, thank you, Erin. Let's see. Next question, Sarah from Carlsbad. Why do I need a home inspection and an appraisal?
Well, the home inspection is a good introduction to your house. You actually get to walk around with a licensed inspector, and particularly for first-time home buyers, it's extremely helpful to have a home inspection because you get to look at the heating unit. How old is your heating unit? The water heater, is my water heater going to last, or is it going to go the day I move in? How's my roof? Is the roof leaking, or will I need to save money because in the next 4 to 5 years I may have to replace it? A home inspection tells you everything about your house and the workings of the house. The purpose of the appraisal is to determine value, and the appraisal is done by the bank for the bank because the bank is loaning you money, and the appraisal determines the value. So if the house is not worth what you're paying for it, the bank wants to know because that is the bank's collateral for you to pay them back the money that they're loaning you to buy the house. So you must have an appraisal to determine value, and you must have a home inspection to determine condition.
We learned that too. Okay, very good. Next question, Tarek in Mobile. What if the seller of the house I'm interested in won't budge on their price? Sounds kind of simple.
If the if the seller won't budge on the price, then the seller wants what they want, and because the seller is the owner and he sees value in that price, if you feel, based on you having looked at the market and you're feeling like what he's asking is not a fair price, then you move on to the next house, because it's up to him as to what he would like to sell his house for. And some sellers are unrealistic.
That's good to hear, that part of that equation, because as you say, it's a subjective thing. They feel it's worth what they want to get and they don't want to budge, but the market may not bear what they want. So, okay, great answer. Let's see. What if there's something wrong with the house after I buy it? Well, I'm guessing this would be actually during the purchasing process, but it's discovered after it's purchased. Will the seller be liable for the repair? That's from Billy in Morristown.
Okay, so now I just want to get an understanding. What if there's something wrong with the house after you've made your offer? You haven't closed yet, correct?
Let's do both scenarios. Haven't closed yet, and then, yes, closed, and then there's this thing that it's apparent was a problem before it was closed.
Okay, so you haven't closed yet, and you just had your home inspection, and you found out that there was a leaky roof. At that time, you can ask the seller to make the repair of the roof. So if there's something wrong with your house during the home inspection, you can ask the seller to remedy. If you've already closed, there's nothing much you can do because you are now the owner. But if it was something blatant where the seller misrepresented, you do have a case for a lawsuit.
If the disclosure of the thing, the item, wasn't made prior to closing, then they can be taken to court. Is that how that would play out?
Yes, but we would have to prove that the seller was aware and misrepresented. So maybe he showed us paperwork that the roof was not leaking at all, and then the day you move in, it's leaking, and you have that paperwork in hand that he said the roof was certified not leaking, then you have a case.
Thank you for that. Next question is, what last-minute hiccups can I avoid at the closing table? Just trying to be proactive. David from Hot Springs, Arkansas. What last-minute hiccups can I avoid?
I would tell you, David, once you've made a decision to start looking for a home, I would tell you, once you get your pre-approval, do not make any major purchases. Don't loan anybody any money. Don't move money around in your bank account. Everything should stay exactly the same, because that is a major hiccup. The mortgage company will run your credit report 2 days before closing. And if there is, say, you got excited and you went and bought a $1,000 sofa, and that increased your debt-to-income ratio, that's a problem. That's a major hiccup. Or if you've taken $1,000 out of $1,000 appeared in your bank account, that's a hiccup.
Wow, why would more money in the account be a problem?
If it's not sourced. So if your mom says, you know what, here's $1,000 cash, and $1,000 cash pops up in your account, that's a problem. It has to be sourced.
Okay.
If it comes from your job and it shows, a direct deposit, that's fine. But they don't want to see all of a sudden money popping up in your account.
Thank you. That information right there was gold for me. What happens when things break down at closing, such as the lender has added certain conditions to their final approval that the buyer or seller must meet before funding the deal? That comes from me, Erin. Actually, I just wanted to throw this, just because we've gone through a little bit about conditions prior to final approval. I wanted to get your take on that.
The loan office, the mortgage companies have all the power. And you really have to do whatever they say in order to get their money. So your question states, if a lender has certain conditions to their final approval, you will have to meet those conditions.
So would that happen when they issue a final approval and it has conditions? That's prior to going to the closing table that they say, okay, you need to do these 2 or 3 things, and then you can close, right?
And then, right, because you'll get a mortgage commitment, and it's usually subject to some conditions. And they may want your most recent pay stubs, and your pay stub has to match your other pay stubs. And, like, suppose you took 2 weeks off, and, you know, you're like, oh, I didn't work for 2 weeks because my mom was sick. That's a problem. They're going to say, you know, wait, we have to wait until we get a regular check stub. That's right. And it can't even, it has to, and suppose you did 38 hours instead of 40 hours, makes a difference.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Homeowners insurance you'll have to get. And if you don't have your homeowners insurance in a timely fashion, they won't clear the file for closing. Sometimes the banks will require a certificate of occupancy. That has to be in hand. If they don't have it, the file won't be cleared for closing. So getting an approval is one thing, and then clearing your file for closing is another. So there's a couple of steps here.
Excellent information. Great answer. Thank you very much for that. Okay. I think it looks like we're finished with the questions. Erin, any last words, any famous last words, any parting shots, anything that you would like to impart before we close out?
Well, I would just tell buyers to do, a lot of them start their search online, and that will give them a good idea as to what communities they can afford. Definitely get pre-approved, then even start your search online based on your price point. I recommend doing drive-bys. If you're moving from another state and you're not familiar with the communities, I would say visit those communities. Go to the food store, because you're really buying community more so than you're buying house, particularly if you're raising a family. So do your research.
Very nice. Okay. Well, yes, it looks like that's it. We're done. Thank you for those words of wisdom, Ms. Brown.
You are welcome anytime.
Listen, if you want to reach out to Erin, if you're looking for a home in New Jersey, you can reach her at 973-493-7370. Her email address is ebrown.remax@gmail.com, and her web address is ebrown.remax-nj.com. All right? Erin, once again, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate you. And we hope we can get you to come back sometime again and give us more words of wisdom as it relates to real estate and all things related to real estate.
Okay, thanks, Erin.